Okay. I take it we're rolling.
Rolling.
Don't mess with Limp Bizkit.
What you gonna do now?
Okay, 50 in coping. Yes, that's why we're here.
All right.
Reframing. Have you heard that phrase?
I have heard that phrase.
Okay, normally phrases like this annoy me. Right?
No.
I'm going to reframe it. Right, but this one actually is a really quite good coping mechanism. And the hint about coping is in the title of 50 in coping. Reframing is when you take something and you change either the language or the inference and the way you say it to turn a negative into a positive. But there are many ways of doing that. It's not just like, okay, I've done something bad. No, it has a good side, but you've got to rethink it. So every situation has a thought process.
Yep.
So instead of just blurting out the first thing you think, right, have a think about the whole situation. So, for instance, I messed up at work. That means I'm incompetent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. So, if you're like that, right? So, reframed is, right, this is a chance for me to learn from that and grow. Because when you make mistakes, you can learn from that.
Yep.
Now, when I was a kid, I had a little job as a road sweeper, right, around Haileybury. I was 11. He used to pay me a fortune. It was really good. But the guy who ran that department, the clerk of the works, was a nice guy. He helped me build a moped and stuff as well later on. And he was a good guy. And he said to me, he said, look, as long as you don't make the same mistake twice, you will always learn from what you do. And I think that's really good life advice.
Yeah.
And I learnt that when I was 11. I haven't learnt anything since. But, you know.
Very good.
So what do you take from framing?
Reframing.
Reframing?
It's a different perspective. I think that's the sort of literal meaning of it. If you think of a picture, so if you look at a scenario, and two people are painting that scenario from different angles, right? Lots of kind of plays on words here.
Yeah.
Then one person's picture will be framed differently to the other person's picture because you're looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way I understand it is, it's about effectively checking your reaction to something, taking your feelings out of that situation, looking at it objectively. And one thing I heard on the pod I listened to yesterday was it's more about not reacting to the situation and not saying, why has this happened to me? Right. So you get stuck in traffic, for example.
Yeah.
You need, one way it was phrased in the thing I listened to yesterday was, don't look at it as why has this happened to me. Look at it as what has this been put in front of me to help me learn? What can I learn from this situation?
Okay.
So it's a difference between negative and positive. So negative thinking versus actual reality. So if you're stuck in traffic trying to get somewhere, oh, why has this happened to me? It's the world's going to end. It's all terrible. Well, take what you can out of that to find a positive, right?
So what is the positive?
It gives you a chance to listen to some music or listen to a podcast or learn something new.
Get some peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about not reacting. Well, it's about checking your negative reaction because we're all programmed to react negatively to pretty much everything.
It's been said quite often that I have a negative streak in me, so hence we're talking about this.
Yep.
But it's not always situations either, is it? It's not just... So let's take that little incident, right? You're stuck in traffic, you're there for 40 minutes, moving slowly and going, right? Well, everyone sees that as really terrible, right? But a lot of people in society would think, oh, well, yeah, all right, somebody would try and make this a positive situation, but it's really not. And it's like, but it is exactly what you make of it.
Yeah, for me, it's more about not letting it become negative, right? It's more about, back to the thing that we've covered before, of not letting a situation that is out of your control. Don't get angry over it. There's no point. What's the point in getting angry about it? You can't stop the fact that someone has crashed their car up ahead, or you didn't plan your day. You can actually plan. You can change that, can't you? Yeah. But it's that trying not to just get trodden down by the negativity of it.
I think why are we then? Why is that a societal programming? Is that just something we're born with?
Negativity?
Yeah.
It's natural from when we were cavemen and women.
Right.
Because it's caution, it's protection. That's what it's for, right? So you have to be careful which berries you eat, because you might all die if you eat those berries. Or you have to be careful what that noise is outside the cave, because it could be a saber-toothed tiger coming to eat you.
Yeah, but that's fight or flight, isn't it? That's a fear thing. Is that?
But fear is now prompted, isn't it? Intentionally, some might say, all the time. So, so we've gone from a situation where that fear is a positive, protective thing. Whereas now we don't have to worry about saber-toothed tigers, and we don't really have to worry about what berries we eat unless we're foragers. So therefore, it's still part of our makeup that we will naturally be negative.
So it's grown with the way society's grown. Yeah, it's just a natural reaction.
It's a natural reaction, but now we're negative about things that actually, at the end of the day, aren't that important, right? So so therefore, fear holds us back. So the whole thing about going for a job. I'm not going to go for it because I might not get it. Or what? Okay,
what's the point of going for it then?
But so what then?
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if you're growing with society, negativity is quite useful for other people and manipulation.
Yep.
So your boss goes, "Oh, well, you did that wrong. What's the point of that?" Blah blah blah. Gives them an out. Right. What they should actually be saying is, "Okay, right, you made that mistake once. Learn from that." If you've got, is it a control then, negativity? Because it's involuntary, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But I guess reframing is about working out whether that negative reaction is actually valid or not.
Yeah, I think.
Is it just an emotion? Is it, oh my God, I've
I'm so
ballsed
crap
up there? Whereas, as you said, you ballsed up. Okay, I was making a table and I cut the bit of wood, too short.
Oh my God, I've done that so many times.
And you beat yourself up over it, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll put that sign back up on the wall that says measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
And I'll look at it every time.
Until
I don't.
I'll replaster the bit of the wall where I threw the hammer at it.
Or make the legs make the base of the table smaller so it actually fits, or whatever.
I've done that too.
Yeah. So it's a matter of just pausing, checking your reaction, and checking whether that reaction is valid. Is that just an emotional reaction, or does it have some validity? If it's got validity,
Okay.
You're right. It might be negative. Yeah. You've just the hospital have called you and your mum's just died. Yeah. You're going to react badly to that. You don't have to check that one, do you?
No.
But if someone rings up and says, well, I don't know, you go on a date, right, and the person doesn't ever text you back, well, it's not the end of the world, is it? They might have been an arse.
Yeah, you might have had a lucky escape.
So rather than, oh my God, I'm never going to find a partner, well, you will. You just, that wasn't the right one for you, right? What if that was the other way around and you just didn't get on with the person and you didn't message them back? Well, it doesn't make you the arsehole, does it? So again, it's just about I guess checking the emotional reaction and giving yourself a little bit of time just to say, is that a valid reaction?
Can I ask, is that, do you think that is a go-to suggestion for all things, right? Because say, let's go back to the analogy of being in an interview, right? You've gone to the interview, right? And you've given the wrong answer, right? And, should that be... The reason you gave the wrong answer is because you came from emotion. You came from an emotive place, right? Instead of going, actually, the figures would say blah, blah, blah. But you may not remember that in the moment. So is that a rule of thumb for life? Before you say anything, before you react to anything, take that pause, take that time. And it doesn't have to be 5 minutes. You don't have to stand there like you're in a bus queue.
It seems that kind of... road rage in whatever form is a good way of explaining a lot of this, I think, right? So the other option is the time when someone overtakes you on a bend or whatever, and you think, look at this arse, we do it all the time. It's one thing, I don't know why, over the years, I guess just through all the driving I used to do when I was a consultant, I don't really get angry with anyone anymore.
No.
Because what does it do?
What's the point? Yeah.
What does it do? And it's that thing of another sort of example of reframing is, well, maybe that person, their mum's in hospital, their wife's about to give birth, they're driving. You'll never know because you'll never meet them.
Well, maybe they're just a dick.
Maybe they are.
That's the thing.
But that's their problem.
That's theirs. That's a them, not a you.
Yeah.
Okay, but I can tell you a little story about road rage, right? And I'm not proud of this, and my son's in the room. some guy pulled out right in front of me in his big flipping tank truck thing, and then slammed his brakes on because I beeped the horn. So I just flipped. Now, bearing in mind, I got my child in the car, right? So this is not a good thing. So I ripped myself out of the car and I screamed at him, "Come on then, you effing son of a gun, you." Right? And he got out of that truck and was terrified. Right? This is not a good thing. Right? People being scared of you. Also, my son was like, "Get back in the car, get back in the car." He had fear, tangible fear. Right? But I was going to kill this bloke. I'd made up my mind. I'd see, in Sherlock Holmes, right, the film with Robert Downey Jr., where he thinks about and plans his next move in a fight. Right, I'd done that. Right, this guy was on the floor. Right, then I suddenly stopped and went, "What are you doing?" He just pulled out. Nobody died. Nobody crashed. Everyone, and you've caused pain and fear to two different people. One of which is related to you, who you quite like on occasion. Right. But, and that made me, from then on, that made me think, right, he's pulled out of there. He probably hasn't even seen me because he's driving a tank. Yeah? He has all the things, but what you don't need to, it's very easy for me to frighten somebody. Yeah? But that's not really a very nice thing to do. Right? Also, one day, I'm going to get out and do that, should I carry on doing it, which I don't, and someone's going to put a metal bar through my head.
Yeah.
And you never know what the reaction's going to be. So if you don't have that confrontation, if you don't act in that way, you're actually preserving yourself and you're stopping somebody else from being able to completely detract from your life with violence. I smack someone up in the ear and go to prison. Then what does my son do then? What does my wife do?
So I guess the reframing is trying to have the time in that moment. To go through that thought process. I'm not going to do that.
I think this is it's not a perfect scenario for everyone, and it's not an immediate change.
No.
Because if you are in that situation time and time again, and you purposely stop, think, react, that will become your go-to after time, right? Do you think that?
Yeah, reframing is definitely something that is improves with practice.
So is reframing actually changing your neural pathway, how you react to a situation?
I think it is, yeah.
Right. We talked about neural pathways before, so when you've got addiction, that pathway's in there and you can just revert straight back to that should you fall off a wagon.
Yep.
Cognitive reappraisal is another way of saying reframing. Right, so where you've got negative thoughts, right, you challenge those and reinterpret. So it's what we've been talking about. But this is a CBT, therapy. Cognitive behavioural therapy is what CBT is. It's got nothing to do with CBD, the pot oil. Pot oil. I like that. I like pot oil. I'm starting a new brand. It's called pot oil.
And coping.
Pot oil and coping, ? So basically you can train yourself through therapy, self-therapy, CBD. There are CBD experts who will... CBT, God, I've messed myself up. There are CBT therapists who their job is to find you a way to cope.
Yeah.
So reframing is an actual way of changing your thought process, hence your neural pathways. Yeah. That really interests me, that whole thing about retraining yourself.
Yeah.
Because everyone is, you can't teach a dog new tricks. Well, I'm not a dog, I'm a human being, and I can relearn.
Yeah, and there's a difference between training yourself to do that and thinking your way out of a problem.
Yeah.
It's a subtle difference, but that apparently by training yourself, by repetitively doing it, it does eventually become natural.
Yeah, but also if you stop and think before anything you do, that's going to be beneficial. Because if you stop and think, normally your negative reaction won't happen.
Yeah.
And even if you are in a situation that is negative, right, it's quite puerile to say, oh, well, you can turn everything into a positive. Sitting here as a human being saying it.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah,
but
I don't dispute that.
Yeah, but it can. It can happen. It can do. I'm not as negative as I used to be. No. I have changed my perception because I've had to. Yeah. I run a charity, with you and others, and yesterday, we need to talk about yesterday, not in details, right? So Coffee and Coping, am I wearing the right hat?
You are.
Is our charity. There's a link in the doobly-doo. And basically yesterday we had a full house almost.
Yeah.
With people, right, so Josie was there, who you've seen in there, you were there, I was there, but then 3 clients came in as well, all with different needs, different problems, one with exceptionally bad problems, who had actually moved aside their negativity to life, got out of bed, and come to us. Now, he'd come all the way from Welling Garden, where I live, all the way over. He can't drive, he's been banned, right? He's had a bad situation through no fault of his own, but I think also he doesn't see the situation as it is yet because he's got a slightly shifted perception. So these people came to our charity for help. And yesterday I was cognizant of the fact that one of the older ladies who was there, right, her main focus was a problem because her hedge is overhanging things and you think, oh, it's just a hedge, don't worry. But it's really difficult to cut it because it's on a V line, right? And the simplest way, right, for me to deal with her major problems, which are all concentrated on this hedge, was us giving her a little grant and getting it cut. Now, why mention that? Well, because that's reframing. Because I take away your major problem that you've fixated on. You don't have one. So then I will see where she goes next. So if it's problem after problem after problem, then there's a core cause, and then we can find what that is. I mean, that's just you know, peeling back the layers. That's counselling one-on-one. But also just the offer of help. She was completely blown away by that. And I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't. It's like, okay, we've got a bit of money, that hasn't been earmarked yet. And we're talking about 40 quid or 50 quid. Do you know what I mean? It's not a lot, but I know that she's focused on that. So get her past it. So basically I can reframe her by my actions. Right? Now, I want to say this for clarity. I am not saying, wow, look at me, look what I've done. I am saying that I've recognised the problem. I put a positive spin on that, which is, if we remove that for her, which is very easy to do, she can then move on.
So she's stuck in her view. She's stuck in that situation. It's never ending. She's never going to get a solution.
No.
It's a downward spiral, isn't it? So, and I think, I guess part of the issue with reframing is helping other people to reframe their own situations.
Because if it's only insular, you can't help anyone else see what the deal is. And also you have to remember that the more you go around preaching about things, the more people will shut the door to it. So this is why a podcast is good. If somebody chooses to watch this, they can see our opinion of reframing. And anyone who's known me before, because a lot of people who have known me for years that watch this, they will see the difference in me and have commented on it. And that difference isn't easily won. You know, I haven't just gone click fingers. We've been doing this now, excuse me. I'm 51 and I was 51 on Monday. Right? So we've been doing this a year and a bit, year and a half? No, it can't be 2 years. Nearly. Okay, so we've been doing this over a year.
You're approaching 50, so
I was approaching it, I was panicking, right? But then reframing that, now, 51, I embrace that, right? It's a celebration. I've lived a whole year in my 50s. I haven't done anything remarkably stupid. I'm still here. Also, I've moved on with my aspirations. I start a job with DrugLink on Monday. Which, okay, it's only 15 hours a week, but it means I can actually make a difference to addicts and get the training I need to carry on with that. Right? So if you look at it, I've reframed my whole life. I've drawn away from the tattoo shop a little bit. I'm still here 3 days a week, right? But it's not my core place. But I'm not giving it up. I've fought too hard to keep it. We'll have to see, you know, how this ends up. But if I am finding that if you do reframe situations into a positive rather than a negative, it actually changes the whole vibration of your existence, as Josie would say.
Absolutely.
I think I think it's important to have a look at how you react to things, even if you don't change. If you acknowledge and own it, that's different. Because also sometimes there are situations that call for negativity. But only normally triggered by somebody else.
That's what I'm saying. You just have to check it, don't you? Just have to make sure that that's not just an emotional reaction, and it's not a reaction that is rooted in your own self-destruction, your own self-negativity. You're not going, oh bloody hell, what's happened to me? Well, it's not. That's not the point, right? The point is, okay, what can you learn from it? It's not happened to you, right? It's just happened. It's not angled at you.
No. Also, I mean, just by stopping and looking at your reactions, which most people never do, you can actually learn a lot about yourself. And I'm constantly now seeing, the negative side of people. When I was part of that, I loved a good moan, and I still do. I mean, we all do. That's all right. Yeah. You go and talk to your friends about, the knobhead next door, the bloke, whatever. You're allowed to release and moan because people like a gossip.
Well, we did that yesterday, right? But we did it, as Josie said, we had a laugh doing it, didn't we? Right?
Yeah.
You can all put the world to rights, can't you, as they say? And it's good to get it out. I think it's good to get it out, but in a like a jovial environment is actually, I think it's quite cathartic because you actually have a bit of a giggle about it, and then you'll feel a bit like, oh, actually we've all got the same opinion. It's not just me thinking this. It's not, the world's not going to end.
The thing about running a charity as well is a lot of that time you can't spend it in negativity. And I started to go, oh, this isn't working. People aren't coming. And yesterday, wow, that just made me feel amazing. On a
I said to George earlier, there was 6 people in the room, and at one point there were 3 separate conversations going on, all of which were positive for the person that was being spoken with.
I mean, I think also that showed the way forward for us as well, because one of the people that had a problem that I had to go and talk one-on-one with, and they had you to talk to when I wasn't there. I did have to bring the conversation around a couple of times as well, and I felt comfortable doing that. So I made a bit of a speech about something, and then we moved on. I mean, it is funny that we do end up talking about what you would call theories and I would call conspiracy theories all the time. It's mostly because it's really interesting.
It's just a good conversation topic.
There's a lot of fat on that bone, you know what I mean? There's a lot of meat on that bone even. Fat on the bone, meat? Whatever that is, there's a lot of it.
A lot of fat on the chop.
Yeah, that do. I don't like chops. I don't like animal fat either.
It's good for you.
Yeah, well, yes. I'm sure your wife would tell me. She found out that I eat biscuits a lot because Marley told her.
Oh, well, you could reframe that situation, can you?
Yeah. No, it means I can't eat biscuits for lunch anymore. Is that a negative?
Which is probably a good thing, isn't it?
Is that a negative or a positive?
It's positive.
Why? I like biscuits.
Yeah. Right, you need to work harder at this. We'll have a separate session.
Okay. I think we should also look at the fact about personal growth and why everyone is always going on about that. Personal growth isn't about preaching, right? It isn't about somebody saying I'm better than you because I do this, right? A lot of podcasty fucking, what are they called? Life coaches, right? Oh my Christ. I hate life coaches. Not all of them. No, I do. The concept of it, right? You've got somebody telling you because of all the work they've done, they are better at living than you are. But I'm taking all of that as a negative, right? So this is a case in point. But arrogance annoys me because I've come from a place of arrogance.
Yeah, I think it's how it's delivered, isn't it? If you look at like the Tony Robbins and the 7 things you need, 7 factors of a successful human being, or whatever his book is, and all that stuff, I think that can be a little bit tiresome.
Well, also, we're all very different human beings, right? And all right, we're the same core, blood and piss and water and whatever, bit of sugar if you eat biscuits, right? But it's the fact of the matter is, you can't have 7 steps to being blah. It's like, oh, fuck off. Because, in a vague, you've got 7 vague terms, So I can give you 7 vague terms that could drive you to be a millionaire. If you work at it.
Yeah, but, okay, so that brings us nicely round to hustle culture, doesn't it? And that being a millionaire
you see what I did there?
is gonna be the secret to a happy life. Which
explain hustle culture.
Hustle culture is purely that. It is the perception that striving to be successful at work will give you happiness, that prosperity is success at work. Mm-hmm. And as we've said on pod before, society seems to push everybody in that direction. Right? It's frowned upon these days not to go to university because you won't earn enough money. And it doesn't mean that you prosper. Ultimately, it just means someone else prospers at your expense.
Well, the government then has your loan money. that no one ever pays back. You know, there's also perpetuation of jobs.
Yeah. So it's about.
Excuse me.
We've said before when we did the happiness show. It's about. It's about finding something that makes you happy. It's not about necessarily making money. We all get to this kind of age and go, yeah, it's not really about the money, is it? And the things, the trinkets of life.
If I worried about not having any money, right, and not earning enough, right, I'd be dead by now. I mean,
So there's a thing that and I may get the word wrong, and I've tried to remember it it's a Japanese word. I've remembered it phonetically. I think it's ikigai, right? Ikigai, I think, is how I remembered it, as it's the guy that does the equalizer. And it's talking about blue zones before.
Yeah.
Okinawa is one of the blue zones in Japan, and one of the things that is fundamental in their opinion to a long and happy life is living your life based on what your purpose is. Right? So there's a very strong push in your formative years to determine what that purpose is.
Is that governed by somebody? Is your purpose spoon-fed to you by what the society needs?
No, I don't
or is
believe
it free
it
choice?
is. I think it's free choice, and that's the point which one of the guys at the drop-in yesterday said. You know, I hated academic stuff at school. But stick me in a woodwork metalwork class, and I was in my element.
Well,
right?
you and I both can relate to that.
And we've always said that people that are good with their hands and want to make stuff, or people that enjoy sport, or people that are creative. Why do we have to force everybody down the line if you've got to have this set of qualifications to get this set of qualifications to get this set of qualifications to get the job that's going to be a success? Why don't you build furniture for a living? And
because it makes you happy.
Yeah.
So
therefore you get joy out of what you do.
Yeah.
Always come back to my dad. You know, that he did what he did for a living because he loved it.
Yeah.
And he did what he did for a living his whole working life. His job basically didn't change from the age of 18.
Because he found his comfortable place.
Yeah. So this ikigai, I'll call it, is about, if that's the centre of your life, if the centre of your life is aimed at fulfilling what you believe your purpose to be, you will therefore be fulfilled. Right? It's not about earning as much money as you possibly can, let's face it, for someone else, ultimately. It's not about getting a bigger house and a bigger car, better car. You know, we always come back to this thing about me wanting my Cobra one day. And I still don't, it might fulfill me for a few days. I might have a laugh driving around in it. But
do you know what? It would be really interesting, right?
To perform that experiment.
Yeah, purely on a scientific level, right? But when you rented that one and it had all them problems, you were still fucking made up by being in that car.
I was, but I don't know how long that would last.
When the monetary problems kicked in,
yeah, I guess so,
and it became a boat anchor rather than a motor.
Well, they say they're talking about boats, don't they? That you're only happy 2 days when you own a boat: the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of the millstone it becomes around your neck.
Yeah.
So yeah. Basically, their secret to a long and happy life is doing what your purpose, identifying what your purpose is, following that as a purpose. And you've changed, and I think you would own up to this, in doing good and helping people in the last year, 18 months. Your persona, your air is different.
Yeah.
You feel more positive, right? And it's this whole thing about doing good actually makes you feel better, right?
Yeah.
Don't try not to think when you're doing something for someone. Don't think of that as a negative thing. Oh, but I'm putting all the effort in here. Well, no, but you should be getting something back. I'm not saying not to send that to you.
No, that's interesting, right? Because at no point during this situation with the charity have I stopped to think, well, I'm doing fucking everything and blah 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 blah.
No, but by doing the positive thing, you're getting positive. You're naturally getting positive.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But in normal life, I'd be like, oh fucking hell, I've done all this and then nobody's fucking listened and everyone's being a dick.
Yeah.
And but in this charity, it's the one thing where I've not had negative thoughts. Yeah. I have had negative thoughts about myself. Am I enough? Can I help these people? Is this just paying lip service?
Perfectly natural, but
But yesterday proved something. It proved that I could cope with 3 different directions of problems in one way. And one of our number in that doesn't have any problems. So you'd think, apart from he does. He has, he's going through a bad situation. He is also lonely. And loneliness is what we started this charity to combat, but it's grown into so much more. All of these partnerships that I've built with these people, You know, I can now more or less point somebody into direct action in every scenario there is.
Yep.
Apart from, well, domestic abuse is the last one to tie down, but I have a meeting on Thursday next week that should do that.
Superb.
So when you realise that you're not doing what you love, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've run tattoo shops. I was an odd bins manager. I've been on the door. I've been a gangster. I've done a lot of things. I can tell you now, the crime side of things makes you very unhappy and very paranoid. I can tell you now as well, working for other people made me very unhappy.
Yep.
Right? But then you argue then, well, you're just about to work for somebody else. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm working for a drug charity, helping people. I'm not in an office.
The focus is on the people you're helping, not the person you're working for, isn't it? Because they're not on your back saying you've got to meet this target, Jim. You've got to do this. You've got to do that.
All they're saying is you have to be present for the clients, and that's fine. So my perception of life has changed over my life, and what's a real shame is that I didn't know this when I was 20, because I could have bypassed all of the bullshit. And
but that bullshit has helped you be the person you are.
Well, I wouldn't be a drug...
Look, I've reframed that situation for you.
Well, no, exactly right. Well, that's where I was just about to go, you know. I can reframe my whole life by the fact that if I hadn't have been a criminal, if I hadn't have been an addict, if I hadn't have done the slight good things that I've done, I couldn't be here now. I wouldn't be present for functioning addicts in a housing
You
project.
wouldn't have been offered the job, would you?
No, because I wouldn't have had any
I wouldn't
life.
have got that job. Because I don't have the relevant
Well, the only reason I got that job was because I have life experience. It's difficult in life when you're tired and you've got kids and you worry about them and if they're all right, and then you've got a wife or a significant other who you worry about because it's not what you need and it's not what you want all the time. But life is like that. Things aren't good all the time. Right? There are going to be situations that are negative, and you won't be able to spin everything into a positive, but every single bad thing can show you a way not to act or a way to teach yourself to do it differently, or also just teaches you a little bit of humility. So you can stop and wind your neck in and stop fighting battles that aren't worth it. Because at the end of the day, you can stand your corner, and you should never not, stand up for yourself, but also pick your battles. Understand that in life, it's not always about winning and being right. What are you winning? What are you going to win? A goldfish?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we all know that if you win a goldfish from the fair, it's going to be dead in about 28 minutes as soon as you put it out in the thing. Right? Just so you know, kids, goldfishes.
Do they still do that?
I don't think you're not allowed to have a goldfish in a bag anymore, are you?
God, what has
society's ruined everything. I used to love those goldfish. All 28 minutes they were alive. I had quite a lot of them, because back in Somerset, that was a thing.
I bet it was. Yeah.
And do you know what was really funny, right? You would throw darts, right? You would throw darts at a dartboard type thing to win the goldfish in a bag that were on a board next to the dartboard. Now, can you see where I'm going?
I can. Yeah.
Right. I think if in life you are able to stop yourself from a knee-jerk reaction and you are able to put yourself in a more peaceful position, a more positive position, people will react to you more positively.
Yeah.
And if people react to you more positively, they will go and be more positive.
Yep.
Back to our original point of saying good morning to people.
Oh, God.
And I do this now every day. Right, and also it's not just good morning. If you say good morning and then there's a little conversation, how's your dog? Because I'm walking Lily most of the time, pulling around, growling and jumping about, yikes. And these people talk to me, and they're like, "Oh, Lily, how's Lily?"
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah,
I was going to try and find an opportunity to mention this, and I now have that opportunity, which is excellent. So we spent a week down in Devon a couple of weeks back, and every single person we walked past when we went out for a walk said hello. In one case, we stopped and spoke to a guy for probably about half hour, 40 minutes. Jesus. We were on the edge of the River Exe, on the bank of the River Exe. He's an ex-farmer, just retired, was talking about the state of the water quality, and we've had an amazing conversation with him. Got back, went for a run because I'm preparing for a half marathon. So I ran home from Rushmere to my house, about 9 miles. And I thought, right, I'm going to make a count. I'm running up the canal, right? So I'm going to see people walking the dogs. I'm going to count how many people I say hello to and see what reaction we get, right?
Yeah.
I said hello to 14 people. 5 of them said hello back.
Right.
The others completely blanked me, completely just carried on looking straight ahead.
Right.
And of the 5 that looked back, 4 of them were 2 couples, where I said hello to the first person, they're walking their dog, and the bloke would say hello, and then the woman would say hello. So only really one person on their own said hello back, and I haven't really done the maths there. What was the difference? 5, 14, 9 people just completely blanked me.
Why do you think they did that?
Don't know.
I've got.
But it was a noticeable difference between Devon and here, and it's even more so in London. You walk past someone in London and say hello, they would look like you're going to mug them or something.
I lived in London for many years. Well, I don't know, 5 years. That's enough, isn't it? And London is a very lonely place if you don't know anyone.
Yeah.
When I moved there, though, there was a pub called the Slug and Lettuce, and I got friendly with the bar staff in there because I was quite a heavy drinker, as you know. Also, you know, I had a bit of an in because the people I was with, a lot of people knew them and were a little bit like, oh, Christ. And then I was actually all right. I was a human being. So from that, I managed to get a circle of friends. Yeah. But that's just because I'm quite gregarious. I can make friends mostly anywhere. But walking down the street, if I hadn't have found a safe haven, if you like, you wouldn't meet anyone. Yeah,
so the difference for me was Devon and where I live.
Well, right? that's it. But I grew up in Somerset.
I think there's more community still down there.
Yeah, there is.
There's less people. People come to the suburbs to get into London, right? So as I've said before, our village, a new guy moved in over the road last week. I helped him get his sofa into the front room, and he said, "What's it like around here?" I said, "Well, it's nice, quiet. We've lived here for 5 years. I could probably name 6 people in the village." And he went, "Really?" I went, "Yeah, people sort of keep themselves to themselves. There's no pub, there's no shop, there's no community. Right?
There's no nothing." Yeah.
Whereas I think in Devon, from what we experienced, people that were there have lived there for a long time. This sense of community that are all coming together. They're actually suing the water authority, Severn Water, whoever they are, for the sewage that's going into the. Yeah. Because they're saying, right, we're paying for this, right, and you're not doing your job, right? Yeah. So they're all coming together as a community. He's a farmer, obviously lived down there for years. Yeah. And he just literally started talking to us. It was amazing. And it was a really, really interesting conversation. He was a really nice guy. Just lovely. It was just really noticeably different.
I think if you look at the realities of London, London's busy, right? And it's hustle culture.
There you go.
It's right. But I mean, I come from Somerset. I understand that. I went back to Wells, as I think we've said, where I grew up, right, with my son, and I showed him where I used to live, right? And you go around there, you go into a pub down there or whatever, someone will talk to you.
Yeah.
Right? Someone will let you know that, okay, you're on your own, I've seen that. Because they are used to talking to each other, to the people around them. And also, if you think about it, there's a lot of tourists in Wales as well. So you'd think they'd be a bit standoffish. Well, I remember living there talking to tourists, just be like, "Oh, how's it going? Where'd you come from?" Because it was exciting.
It's interesting, yeah. Someone's come from
also,
London.
We need to end. So what I want to say is, if you do say good morning to strangers and they interact with you, you'd have never met them unless you'd have built that bridge.
Yep.
Right? It hurts you not at all if they don't answer back.
No.
You just think, all right, fair enough. But I have seen it. I've said good morning to this older lady who's on there, right? And she was walking towards a co-op. Right, and she went, "Oh, good morning, dear," and all that, right? The whole thing. Everyone calls me dear around there, actually. A lot of people do that, right? But then she then said good morning to another kid on the thing, and he looked like he'd slapped her, and she went, "Oh, hello," and it passed on.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying, "Oh, look at me, I can influence the thing." What I'm saying is, just say hello, because all these people, right, may have not spoken to people for a while, especially the older people, especially the people who maybe they've lost someone or they've moved up here because they've had to. They've been transferred by councils. These people have no one. Yeah. You just say hello, they'll be like, "Oh, it's quite friendly around here."
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the more people say hello and the more people that trigger conversations like that one you had in Devon with the farmer, that means that we can get back just a little bit away from fear and away from isolation and get back to community.
Beautiful.
50 and Coping is always about community. If you can check out coffeeandcoping.org, that is our charity, and we are actually helping people. There's a Just Giving page as well. Should you feel like, how many park runs have you done now?
I've done 94 now.
94. 6 to go before Christmas.
Yes.
Is that doable?
Yeah, there's a few weeks I can't make, but yeah, it'll be done middle of December, I reckon.
Right, so he, by the end of the year, is going to have 100 park runs, right? He has done this for our charity, Coffee and Coping. He is obviously a trustee. Because he's not just doing it because he's nice. You know. But imagine that. 100, how long is a park run?
5K.
Right, 5K. That's 500 kilometres. I was going to say kilograms, right? For charity, and I think that's amazing. So on air, I'd like to say thank you very much for doing that.
My pleasure.
Okay, we're going to leave you to it. Have a great week. Go and say good morning to someone.